They say blood is thicker than water. That family will always have your back. That parents love all their children equally. Let me tell you something, those are some of the most dangerous lies ever told. Because it was at my own family's dining table, surrounded by 15 relatives who came to watch, that my father looked me in the eye and said, "Your sister's life will always come first. You are already dead to us." And my mother, the woman who gave birth to me, just nodded. Not because I'd committed some terrible crime. Not because I'd hurt anyone. But because I refused to hand over my inheritance to fund my sister's third failed business scheme. My name is Victoria Harvey Victoria Turner now. I'm 28 years old, and I'm standing in the home I bought with the money they tried to take from me. 5 years ago, I was declared dead by my own family. Today, I'm more alive than I've ever been. If you've ever been the scapegoat in your family, if you've ever been told you're not enough while your sibling could do no wrong, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And please, subscribe to this channel because this story, it needs to reach every person who's been made to feel invisible. Your subscription might save someone's life. This is London, 2018, not the 1950 seconds, not some backwards town where women have no rights. Modern Britain, where we talk about mental health and toxic relationships and setting boundaries. But here's what they don't tell you. Family dysfunction doesn't care what century you're living in. Narcissistic parents don't get better just because it's the age of therapy apps and self-help books. I'm sharing this story today because somewhere out there, someone is sitting at a dinner table right now being told they're selfish for protecting themselves. Someone is wondering if they're crazy for thinking their family treats them differently. Someone is about to hand over everything they have because they've been gaslit into believing that's what love looks like. If that's you, this is your permission slip to walk away. Let me introduce you to the Harvey family. Sounds respectable, doesn't it? Upper middle class, Kensington townhouse, all the right schools and country club memberships. My father, David Harvey, investment banker, the kind of man who measures success in portfolio returns and controls his family like hostile takeovers. His word was law. His approval was currency no one could afford. My mother, Sarah Harvey, society wife, elegant, educated, utterly powerless. She perfected the art of looking away, of smoothing things over, of prioritizing peace over protection. Her silence was louder than my father's rage. My sister, Sophie Harvey, 5 years older, blonde, charismatic, incapable of accepting responsibility for anything. The sun around which our entire family orbited. Every failure was an investment opportunity. Every disaster was everyone else's fault. Every need was automatically everyone else's problem to solve. And then there was me, Victoria, the spare, the afterthought, the daughter who existed to make Sophie look better by comparison. I learned early that my achievements didn't count, my pain didn't matter, and my dreams were always less important than Sophie's next big idea. I remember the exact moment I realized something was fundamentally wrong in my family. I was 13. Sophie had just dropped out of university for the second time. It wasn't challenging her creativity, my parents explained to relatives. That same week, I'd won a national essay competition, scholarship, money, publication in a major magazine, the works. My father's response? That's nice, Victoria. Now help your mother prepare for Sophie's welcome home party. No celebration, no acknowledgement. Just redirect attention back to Sophie, where it belonged. I told myself it was a one-time thing, that they were just stressed about Sophie's situation, but then I started noticing the pattern. Sophie's mediocre GCSE results meant a gap year in Thailand. My first-class university acceptance meant, don't get too proud, now. It was slow, you see. Not dramatic enough to call out, just 1,000 small moments where I learned that in the Harvey family hierarchy, I was always going to be at the bottom. My father made the rules explicit when I was 16. We were at Sunday dinner, the mandatory weekly performance where we pretended to be a normal, loving family. Sophie had just announced she was dropping out of her fashion internship because her boss didn't recognize her vision. I made the mistake of suggesting maybe she should finish what she started. My father put down his fork. The whole table went silent. Victoria, he said, voice cold and measured. In this family, we support each other. Your sister has dreams, big dreams, dreams that will elevate the Harvey name. Your job is to support those dreams, not question them. Do you understand? I looked at my mother, waiting for her to say something, anything. She smoothed her napkin, looked away, said nothing. That's when I understood. This wasn't a family, it was a machine designed to serve Sophie, and I was just a cog expected to turn when required. I didn't realize I was the family scapegoat overnight. It was more insidious than that. A forgotten birthday here, a dismissed achievement there. Year after year of being told, don't make a fuss, and Sophie needs us more right now, and why can't you just be supportive? Sophie's 25th birthday party had ice sculptures shaped like swans, a live jazz band, and 200 guests in our parents' manicured garden. Mine had a supermarket sheet cake, and my mother's distracted, "That's lovely, dear," when I blew out the candles alone in the kitchen while they toasted Sophie's engagement in the next room. The worst part wasn't my father's open favoritism, at least that was honest. It was watching my mother perfect the art of looking away. The subtle subject changes when I tried to share my accomplishments. The way she'd excuse Sophie's behavior with, "You know how she is," while holding me to impossible standards, the silence that enabled everything. And the extended family? Aunts, uncles, cousins, they all saw it. They all participated. Because confronting my father meant exclusion from the family circle, and apparently, that price was too high. The emotional progression was inevitable. Confusion at 7, wondering why my parents didn't come to my school play, but flew to Paris for Sophie's gallery opening. Recognition at 13, starting to see the pattern wasn't random. Anger at 18, realizing this was deliberate, systematic, intentional. Resignation at 23, accepting I would never be enough, no matter what I achieved. And then survival mode at 28, when I finally chose myself over the family that chose Sophie over me. Every single time. If you're watching this and seeing your own family reflected back, leave a heart emoji in the comments. Let's build a community of people who understand that family dysfunction wears expensive clothes and lives in nice neighborhoods too. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. These stories need to reach the people still thinking they're the problem. Now, let me tell you about the day everything changed. The day my grandmother died and left me something my family couldn't control. The day I learned that saying no to toxic people even when they're family can cost you everything. And the day I discovered that sometimes, losing everything is actually the beginning of finding yourself. You know how some families have a favorite? In mine, it wasn't even a secret. Sophie was the sun, and the rest of us were just planets expected to orbit around her brilliance. Except Sophie wasn't brilliant at all. She was a spectacular disaster, wrapped in designer clothes and daddy's checkbook. I'm Victoria, by the way. The spare. The afterthought. The daughter who existed to make Sophie look better by comparison. Growing up in the Harvey household meant living in a constant performance where I never got a speaking role. Sophie's mediocre GCSE results? Celebrated with a trip to Paris. My acceptance to Durham University with honors? A distracted "that's nice, dear," over morning coffee. Sophie's 25th birthday party had ice sculptures and a live band. Mine had a grocery store cake and an obligation attendance from relatives who spent the whole time asking about Sophie's new boyfriend. By the time I turned 28, I'd perfected the art of being invisible. I was the family therapist, the free event planner, the emotional support sister, who listened to Sophie's endless drama about failed relationships and abandoned hobbies, while our parents nodded along like she was recounting tales of heroic conquests. But I'd also built something they didn't notice. A career in marketing that actually mattered. A flat in London I'd earned myself. Friends who saw me as more than Sophie's shadow. Then grandmother Eleanor died. And everything I'd carefully built came crashing down in one spectacular family dinner that would change my life forever. Because it turned out, being invisible had one advantage: they never saw me coming when I finally said no. The solicitor's office smelled like old leather and expensive lies. Sophie sat beside me, fidgeting with her phone, while Mr. Pemberton read Grand's will in that drone-like voice lawyers perfect over decades of delivering both fortune and disappointment. To my granddaughters, Victoria and Sophie Harvey, I leave my estate in equal shares. £150,000 each. Sophie's gasp was theatrical. I felt tears prick my eyes for different reasons. Gran had seen me, really seen me. She'd made us equal when our parents never had. I had plans immediately. Professional certifications, a deposit on a bigger flat, maybe finally that holiday to Italy I'd been dreaming about. Security, independence, freedom from always being the one who had nothing while Sophie had everything. 2 weeks later, Dad summoned me to Sunday dinner at their Kensington townhouse, the formal dining room, not the kitchen. Warning bells should have been ringing, but I was still floating on the high of Grand's final gift to me. Sophie was already there, red-eyed and clutching Mum's hand like a Victorian maiden in distress. Dad sat at the head of the table, his investment banker face firmly in place. "Victoria, sit down. We need to discuss your grandmother's will. Not how are you feeling, Or, we miss her too, just business. Sophie launched in before I'd even pulled out my chair. Vicky, I've had the most incredible business opportunity. A tech platform connecting sustainable fashion brands with conscious consumers. It's going to revolutionize the entire industry. My stomach dropped. This was Sophie's third revolutionary business idea in 5 years. The organic juice bar lasted 8 months. The luxury pet accessories brand folded after she spent the entire budget on the launch party. I need $300,000 to launch properly, Sophie continued, her voice taking on that wheedling tone I knew too well. I've got $150 from Gran, obviously, but I need your half too. It's a loan, sort of. Well, an investment. You'd be part of something amazing. The silence stretched. They were all staring at me expectantly, as if my agreement was already assumed. No, I said quietly. Dad's fork clattered against his plate. Excuse me? I said no, that money is mine. I have plans for it. Plans? Sophie's voice rose. What plans could possibly be more important than helping your sister achieve her dreams? Dreams. Sophie's dreams had cost our parents over £200,000 in the last 5 years alone. My dreams had never even been asked about. I'm investing in professional certifications. Saving for a proper flat. Building my future. Don't be selfish, Victoria. Mum's voice was soft but cutting. Family helps family. Your sister needs this. Then why doesn't she ask for your help? The words came out sharper than I intended. Dad's face darkened. We've already remortgaged the house for Sophie's initial investment. This isn't a request, Victoria. It's about family loyalty. The calls started the next morning. 6 a.m. Mum's number flashing on my screen. I let it ring through to voicemail. By noon, I had 14 missed calls and a string of texts that would have been laughable if they weren't so psychologically calculated. Your sister didn't sleep last night because of your selfishness. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. If something happens to him, it's on you. I raised you better than this. Call me immediately. I blocked their numbers during my lunch break, hands shaking as I stabbed at my phone screen. Rachel found me in the office bathroom, mascara streaking down my face. They're acting like I murdered someone. I choked out. All because I won't hand over money that's legally mine. Because they're narcissists, babe, Rachel said, pulling me into a hug. And you just set a boundary for the first time in your life. They're losing their minds. She was right, but knowing that didn't make it easier when Dad showed up at my office 3 days later. My assistant buzzed through, voice apologetic. Victoria, there's a David Harvey here demanding to see you? I found him in reception, still in his Savile Row suit, looking utterly out of place among the creative agency's exposed brick and bean bags. Everyone was staring. Dad, you can't just show up at my workplace. Then answer your bloody phone. His voice carried across the open floor plan. My colleagues weren't even pretending not to listen. This is ridiculous, Victoria. Sophie's window of opportunity is closing. Investors are circling, but she needs the full capital commitment now. No. Don't you dare. I said no. Now please leave before I call security. His face went purple. You ungrateful little, he caught himself straightening his tie. Fine. But don't come crying to us when you're alone and realize family is all that matters. Don't bother coming to Christmas if this is how you treat your sister. He stormed out, leaving me standing in reception with 40 pairs of eyes watching my humiliation. My boss appeared at my elbow. Take the rest of the day, Victoria. Family stuff is always complicated. That night, the messages escalated. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all suddenly very concerned about my relationship with Sophie. The script was identical across all of them. Family helps family. Your sister needs you. Stop being selfish. Sophie's texts were the worst. Manipulative little grenades designed to detonate my guilt. I thought you loved me. Guess I was wrong about having a sister. Mum's been crying for 3 days because of you. Dad says you're not his daughter anymore if you don't help me. Is that what you want? I documented everything. Screenshots, saved voicemails, a detailed timeline. Some instinct told me I'd need evidence of this madness later. 2 weeks of psychological warfare, and I hadn't broken. But I was exhausted. Anxiety clawing at my chest every time my phone buzzed. Rachel suggested I take a few days off, get out of London, clear my head. Then the formal invitation arrived. Heavy cream cardstock, Mum's perfect calligraphy, family summit, Sunday, 3 p.m. Your attendance is mandatory. I knew it was a trap. I went anyway, because some part of me still hoped they'd hear me, still believed blood meant something. I'd never been more wrong in my life. The Harvey family townhouse loomed before me, all Georgian elegance and hidden rot. I'd grown up in this house, but standing on the doorstep that Sunday afternoon, it felt like approaching an execution chamber dressed in expensive wallpaper. Rachel had begged me not to go alone. "It's an ambush, Vic. They're going to gang up on you," but I'd insisted. Some stupid, desperate part of me still thought we could resolve this like adults, that they'd finally listen. Mum opened the door, her smile tight and practiced. "Victoria, come in, everyone's waiting." Everyone. The word should have sent me running. The sitting room was full, not just Mum, Dad, and Sophie, Aunt Caroline and Uncle James, Cousin Petra. Family friends I barely knew. 15 people arranged in a semicircle like a jury, all eyes turning to me as I entered. This wasn't a family meeting, it was a trial, and I was already convicted. "Sit down, Victoria." Dad gestured to a lone chair positioned opposite the assembled crowd. I remained standing. "What is this?" "An intervention," Sophie said from her position next to Mum, playing the wounded party perfectly. "Since you won't listen to reason privately." Dad stood, commanding the room like a boardroom presentation. "We're here because one member of this family has forgotten what loyalty means, what sacrifice means. Your sister has an opportunity that comes once in a lifetime, and you're sabotaging it out of pure selfishness." "I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm protecting my own future." "Your future?" Sophie laughed bitterly. "You have a job, Victoria. I'm trying to build an empire. Our empire. This would elevate the entire Harvey name. Your last 2 businesses failed, Sophie." The room erupted. Aunt Caroline gasped, like I'd slapped a child. Uncle James shook his head in disgust. Cousin Petra actually said, "How could you be so cruel?" "Cruel? I'm stating facts." "Enough." Dad's voice cracked like a whip. "This ends now, Victoria. You will transfer your inheritance to Sophie's business account by Friday, or there will be consequences." "Consequences?" My laugh came out broken. "What consequences, Dad? You'll disown me? You've already treated me like I don't exist my entire life." "Don't be dramatic," Mum interjected. "We've always loved both our girls equally." Equally. The word tasted like acid. Sophie's 25th birthday had ice sculptures. Mine had a supermarket cake. Sophie failed her A-levels and got a gap year in Thailand. I got a first-class degree and got a, "That's nice, dear." You remortgaged your house for her business but won't even consider that I might have dreams too. "This isn't about the past," Dad said coldly. "This is about your decision right now. Family helps family. It's non-negotiable." Then I negotiate myself out. Silence crashed through the room like a physical force. "What did you say?" Dad's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "I said no. No to the money. No to being your backup plan. No to being invisible unless Sophie needs something. Just, no." Sophie burst into theatrical tears. Mum rushed to comfort her, shooting me a look of pure venom. The relatives shifted uncomfortably, whispering amongst themselves. Dad stepped closer, his face inches from mine. When he spoke, his voice was ice. "Then let me make this absolutely clear, Victoria. Your sister's life, her dreams, her future, they will always come first in this family. Always, because she matters, she contributes. She makes this family proud." He paused, letting the words sink in like knives. "You are already dead to us." The words hit like a physical blow. I actually stumbled back a step. Every eye in the room turned to Mum. This was her moment to intervene, to say something, anything, to be my mother. She looked at me for a long moment. I saw her mouth open, saw something that might have been hesitation flash across her face. Then she looked at Sophie, still sobbing dramatically into her hands. And Mum nodded. Just once. Slow. Deliberate. Final. The room seemed to tilt. 28 years of hoping I was wrong, of thinking maybe they did love me deep down, of believing family meant something, all of it shattered in that single nod. "Okay," I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Good to know." I turned toward the door. "Victoria, wait," Aunt Caroline started, but I was already moving. "Don't bother coming to Christmas," Sophie called after me, her tears mysteriously dried. "Or any family events. We don't need people who don't support us." I reached the front door, hand on the brass handle I'd touched 1,000 times. "You'll regret this," Dad shouted. "When you're alone and miserable, don't come crawling back." I looked back one final time. 15 faces staring at me with judgment, disappointment, disgust. Not 1 ounce of love. "Already dead," I repeated softly. You know what? That actually makes this easier. I walked out into the autumn afternoon and pulled out my phone. 3 calls. Rachel, my building's letting agency, and a removal company. If I was dead to them, I was going to disappear completely. And dead people don't leave forwarding addresses. The panic attack hit me on the tube. One moment I was staring blankly at the darkness rushing past the windows. The next my chest was caving in, lungs refusing to work, vision tunneling to a pinpoint. A kind stranger pressed a paper bag into my hands, murmuring something about breathing slowly. I stumbled off at the next stop and sat on a bench for 40 minutes, shaking. Already dead to us. The words looped endlessly in my head like a curse I couldn't break. How do you mourn people who are still alive? How do you grieve a family that never really existed? Rachel found me there somehow. I must have called her without remembering. She didn't say a word, just wrapped her coat around my shoulders and guided me to her car. I'm staying at yours tonight, she announced, and tomorrow we're making a plan. The plan started with my phone. Rachel watched as I systematically blocked every Harvey family number. Mum, Dad, Sophie, every aunt, uncle, and cousin who'd sat in that room and watched me be executed. Blocked on phone, text, email, every social media platform. Instagram too, Rachel insisted. They don't get to watch your life anymore. My hands trembled over Sophie's contact. Despite everything, she was still saved as Sophie, sister. I changed it to blocked, and hit confirm. The next week passed in a fog. I went to work, smiled mechanically at colleagues, came home to Rachel camped on my sofa like a protective guard dog. At night, I lay awake, wondering if they'd called, if they'd realized what they'd done, if Mum regretted that nod. My phone stayed silent. They're not coming, Rachel said gently on day 5, finding me staring at my blocked calls list. Narcissists don't apologize, babe. They double down. She was right. Through a mutual friend, I heard Sophie had posted on Facebook about toxic people who abandon family in their time of need. 37 people had liked it, including my mother. That's when something inside me crystallized into steel. I need to leave London, I said suddenly. Completely start over. New city, new life, new everything. Rachel didn't hesitate. Manchester. My cousin's letting agency has a gorgeous flat in the northern quarter. And there's a marketing director position at a firm there. I saw it last week, and thought of you. 6 weeks later, I stood in my new Manchester flat, surrounded by boxes and possibility. The removal company had come at dawn, emptying my London life in 4 hours. I'd left no forwarding address, changed my number, even switched banks. Victoria Harvey was disappearing, and in her place someone new. Someone who didn't wait for crumbs of affection. Someone who knew her worth. The panic attacks continued. Some nights I woke up gasping, Dad's words echoing in my skull. I'd stumble to the bathroom and stare at my reflection, half expecting to see a ghost. Already dead. Maybe they were right. Maybe the old Victoria, the desperate, invisible, perpetually hoping daughter was dead. The new one, though, she was just being born. I started therapy the second week. Dr. Chen was a tiny woman with kind eyes who didn't flinch when I described the family summit. They staged a public execution, she said simply, and you survived. Now we work on making sure you thrive. Thriving felt impossible at first. I threw myself into the new job, senior marketing director at a sustainability-focused agency that actually valued my ideas. My boss, Margaret, was everything my family wasn't: supportive, fair, genuinely impressed by good work. You're brilliant, she said after my first major campaign presentation. Where have you been hiding? In Sophie's shadow, I wanted to say. But that Victoria was dead, remember? I joined a gym, started running. Picked up the Italian lessons I'd abandoned years ago because Sophie thought they were pretentious. Made friends with my neighbors, Sarah and Tom, who had no idea about my family drama and just liked me for me. 3 months in, I went on my first date since the disownment. His name was Alex Turner, an architect I'd met at an industry networking event. He was tall, dark-haired, with laugh lines around his eyes and hands that looked like they could build things. I have family baggage, I blurted over our second drink, because apparently trauma makes you overshare, like steamer trunks full of baggage. Alex just smiled. Who doesn't? My dad hasn't spoken to me in 2 years because I didn't want to take over the family construction business. Family's complicated. He got it. He actually got it. By month 6, something remarkable happened. I woke up one morning and didn't immediately think about them. Didn't check my blocked contacts list. Didn't wonder if they'd tried to reach me. I just lived. Alex had become my boyfriend. Rachel visited every month. Work was thriving, I'd been promoted and was leading the agency's biggest client. I'd traveled to Italy, taken weekend trips to Edinburgh, joined a book club. I'd built a life, my life, with people who chose me, who saw me, who valued me without conditions. Through the grapevine, a former colleague who still followed Sophie on social media, I heard updates. The tech business had launched with great fanfare. Glossy website, PR coverage. Sophie positioned as a visionary entrepreneur. The photos showed her at networking events in designer dresses, mum and dad beaming beside her like proud peacocks. My inheritance money at work, I thought distantly. Plus, their remortgaged house. I should have felt bitter. Instead, I felt nothing. They were strangers now, characters in a story I'd left behind. Dr. Chen called it detachment. I called it survival. You've built protective walls, she observed during one session, which was necessary, but eventually, you'll need to decide if you're healing or just hiding. I didn't know the answer. I just knew I was sleeping through the night, laughing genuinely, looking in the mirror and recognizing the person staring back. 2 years after the family summit, Alex took me to a rooftop restaurant in Manchester. The city lights sparkled below us, and he was nervous, fidgeting with his napkin. I know you have complicated feelings about family, he started, and I know trust is hard for you, but Victoria, you're the most incredible person I've ever met. You're strong and brilliant and brave in ways you don't even realize. He pulled out a small velvet box, and my heart stopped. I can't give you the family you deserved growing up, but I can promise to choose you every single day for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? Through tears I didn't know were coming, I said yes. Alex's parents threw us an engagement party. His mum hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe, whispering, "Welcome to the family, sweetheart." His dad asked if my parents would be joining the wedding planning. No, I said simply, they won't be involved. No one pressed, no one demanded explanations, they just accepted it and moved on. This, I realized, was what family was supposed to feel like. Life was good, better than good. I'd been promoted again, director of marketing, leading a team of 8. Alex and I bought a house together, a Victorian terrace with a garden where we planted roses. Rachel was my maid of honor, and we spent weekends tasting cakes and looking at venues. I was 33, successful, loved, genuinely happy. The Harvey family were barely even memories anymore. Then, on a Tuesday morning 5 years after I'd walked out of that townhouse, my work phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Victoria Harvey? A woman's voice, professional, uncertain. Speaking. My name is Diana Chen. I'm a financial fraud investigator with the Serious Fraud Office. I need to speak with you about your sister, Sophie Harvey. The past I'd buried suddenly clawed its way to the surface, and I knew with absolute certainty, the house of cards was finally collapsing, and they were about to discover that dead people don't answer rescue calls. The fraud investigator's voice was clinical, detached. We're conducting an investigation into Sustain Style Tech Limited. You're listed as a potential investor in company documents. My blood ran cold. I never invested a penny in Sophie's business. That's concerning. Can you come in for a formal statement? I met Diana Chen at a grey government building in Manchester 2 days later. She spread documents across the desk: incorporation papers, investor agreements, loan applications. My forged signature appeared on 12 different documents, claiming I'd invested £150,000. Your sister used your details to secure additional funding, Diana explained. Banks and investors thought she had family backing. In reality, she's been running a pyramid scheme disguised as a tech platform. Investor money went to personal expenses, not business development. How much are we talking? £1.3 million. I sat back, stunned. My parents remortgaged their house for her initial investment. Diana's expression turned sympathetic. That house is gone. The mortgage company filed for repossession last week. Your father's facing potential charges too. He signed off on fraudulent financial statements as a director. Through the window, Manchester bustled with ordinary life. Mine had just tilted again. What happens now? Sophie's been charged with fraud, false accounting, and money laundering. Court dates in 6 weeks. We needed to verify you weren't complicit. I haven't spoken to my family in 5 years. Diana nodded like this made perfect sense. Smart choice, apparently. That evening, my old number, the one I'd abandoned, started receiving calls. 43 in one day. Rachel, who still had access to my old voicemail, listened to them. Your dad's begging, she reported quietly. Your mum's crying. Sophie's number called 16 times but didn't leave messages. I felt nothing, just a distant, detached curiosity. They're not family, I said. They're just people I used to know who made terrible choices. Alex squeezed my hand. Do you want to respond? No, dead people don't have phone numbers. The calls continued for 3 weeks straight. Different numbers, different times, all blocked automatically by my phone's settings. But Rachel kept me updated through the grapevine mutual acquaintances who still followed the Harvey family drama on social media. Sophie's Instagram went from inspirational entrepreneur quotes to silent, and then deleted entirely. The business website vanished overnight. Local news picked up the story. Rising tech star charged with £1 million fraud. Then the emails started reaching my work address. They must have searched my name, found the agency. My assistant intercepted most of them, but one from my mother slipped through. Victoria, please. I know we hurt you terribly, but we're desperate. The house is being repossessed. Your father's health is deteriorating from stress. Sophie's facing prison. We have nothing. No savings, no home, nowhere to turn. You're doing so well now, we've seen your promotions online. Surely you can spare something. Anything? We're still your family. Blood doesn't just disappear. Please respond. We need you. I read it twice, waiting for the guilt to hit. The old Victoria would have crumbled, would have felt responsible, would have wondered if she'd been too harsh. The new Victoria felt only a distant sadness, not for them, but for the girl I'd been who would have sacrificed everything to earn their love. I deleted the email without responding. Alex found me staring out our kitchen window that evening. Penny, for your thoughts? They want money. Begging for it, actually. And nothing. They made their choices. Remortgaging their house, forging my signature, building their entire life on Sophie's lies. That's not my emergency. He kissed my temple. I'm proud of you. 2 days later, Uncle James showed up at my office. Security called up, there's a James Harvey here, claiming to be family. I could have refused to see him. Should have, probably. But curiosity won out. He looked older, diminished. The confident banker, I remembered, had been replaced by someone worn down by scandal and shame. Victoria, thank God, you look wonderful. What do you want? Uncle James? Right, straight to business. He cleared his throat. Your parents are in trouble, real trouble. The house goes to auction next month. Your father's having heart issues. Sophie's legal fees are astronomical, and if they can't afford proper representation, she goes to prison, I finished. Where fraudsters belong. She made mistakes. She committed crimes, forged my signature, used my name to steal over £1 million. I stood, signaling the conversation's end. Is there anything else? They need £200,000. To save the house, cover legal fees. Start over. You have that kind of money now. Your salary, your bonuses, Alex's income. How do you know about Alex? He had the grace to look embarrassed. We've been keeping track. You've done so well. Your parents are very proud, actually. The laugh that escaped me was sharp and ugly. Proud? They declared me dead to them. Your sister-in-law nodded when my father said those exact words. Where was this pride 5 years ago? They were wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. But they're suffering now. Doesn't that count for something? I gathered my things, preparing to leave my own office to escape this conversation. You want to know what counts, Uncle James? You were there. In that room. You watched them execute me emotionally and said nothing. Didn't defend me. Didn't question the insanity of demanding my inheritance. You, Aunt Caroline, Cousin Petra, you all just sat there and let it happen. So no, their suffering doesn't count, and neither does yours. His face reddened. You've become hard, Victoria. Cold. No, I've become free. There's a difference. If you don't help them, they'll lose everything. I paused at the door. They already lost everything. 5 years ago. They just didn't realize it yet. The voicemails escalated from desperate to angry. Rachel played me the highlights over wine one evening, both of us needing the distance of humor to process the absurdity. Dad's voice, slurred with whiskey. You selfish, ungrateful bitch. After everything we did for you, we clothed you, fed you, put a roof over your head, and this is how you repay us? Sophie, surprisingly clear and cold. I know you're listening to these, Victoria. You always were a coward. Hiding behind your perfect new life while your family suffers. Karma's coming for you. Mum, sobbing, please baby, please. I'm sorry we hurt you. I should have stood up for you. I know that now. Please don't punish us forever. We're losing our home. Doesn't that matter to you at all? Do you want me to stop updating you? Rachel asked gently. No, I need to hear it, to remember why I left. But Mum's message haunted me. The apology I'd waited years to hear, arriving only when they needed something. Classic manipulation, Dr. Chen would say. But it still burrowed under my skin. What if I'm being cruel? I asked Alex that night. They're about to be homeless. They're about to face consequences, he corrected. There's a difference. Victoria, they forged your signature, used your name to commit fraud. Your father literally told you that you were dead to them because you wouldn't fund Sophie's scam. These aren't people who made one mistake. This is a pattern. He was right. I knew he was right. But the guilt was a living thing, clawing at my chest. Then my phone rang. Not a blocked number, a new one I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Victoria? Dad's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. Please don't hang up. Just give me 5 minutes. I should have disconnected. Instead, I put him on speaker so Alex could hear. I'm listening. You have 3 minutes. We need to meet. Face to face. There are things that can't be said over the phone. Please. I'm asking, no, I'm begging. One conversation. That's all. Why would I do that? Because despite everything, we're still your parents, and because, his voice cracked, because your mother needs to see you, to apologize properly. We both do. The manipulation was textbook. The sick parent card, the promise of closure. But I was curious about something. Curious to see what they'd become, how they'd justify it all, whether any part of them understood what they'd done. Fine. One meeting. Neutral location. This Saturday, 2 p.m., Cafe Nero, on Deansgate. You and Mum only. Not Sophie, not any other family members. 30 minutes maximum. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you so. I hung up. Alex looked at me with concern. Are you sure about this? I need to close this chapter. Properly, not by hiding, but by facing them and choosing to walk away again. I took his hand. Come with me? Wait at another table? I need to know you're there. Always. Saturday arrived gray and drizzling. Alex and I entered the cafe at 1:55 p.m. He took a corner table with a clear view while I chose one by the window. My parents arrived at exactly 2 p.m. I barely recognized them. Dad had aged a decade, hair gray, face gaunt, suit hanging off him like borrowed clothes. Mum looked fragile, makeup unable to hide the exhaustion carved into her features. They saw me and something flickered across both their faces. Relief? Desperation? Hope? I gestured to the empty chairs. Sit. Mum reached for my hand across the table. I pulled back. Right, Dad said, clearing his throat. Victoria, thank you for agreeing to meet us. You have 30 minutes. Start talking. They exchanged glances, some silent marital communication I'd seen 1,000 times. We were wrong, Mum began, her voice trembling. About everything. How we treated you, the favoritism toward Sophie, that terrible day when your father said, when he said I was dead to you, and you nodded. I finished flatly. Say it properly. Own what you did. Dad flinched. We were under enormous pressure. Sophie's business seemed so promising. We thought we were making a sound investment. In your daughter's fraudulent pyramid scheme, I interrupted. The one where she forged my signature to secure additional funding. Did you know about that? No, Mum gasped. We had no idea we thought it was legitimate. But you knew she'd failed at every other business. You knew her pattern. You just didn't care because it wasn't your money at risk. Until it was. Silence fell. Other cafe patrons glanced over at the tension crackling at our table. We need £200,000, Dad said finally, dropping all pretense. The house is being auctioned in 3 weeks. Without it, we're homeless. Your mother has health issues, stress-induced cardiac problems. We have nothing left, Victoria. No savings, no credit, nowhere to turn. You're our only hope. I'm not your hope. I'm your last resort. There's a difference. Mum's tears started flowing. Please, baby. I know we don't deserve your help, but we're still your parents. We raised you, did you? My voice came out colder than I intended. You raised Sophie, celebrated her, funded her, protected her, believed in her. Me? You tolerated. I was the spare parts daughter, useful when Sophie needed something, invisible the rest of the time. That's not raising a child. That's warehousing an inconvenience. That's not fair, Dad started. Fair? The word exploded out of me. You want to talk about fair? Sophie's birthday parties cost more than my entire year of celebrations. You remortgaged your house for her business but told me I was selfish for not handing over my inheritance. You gathered 15 people to watch you disown me, and not one of you thought maybe, just maybe, you were being unreasonable. We were protecting Sophie. From what? From facing reality? From consequences? From learning that money doesn't magically appear when you fail? I leaned forward. How did that work out? Dad's face reddened. Don't you dare. Sit down, I said quietly. He'd half risen from his chair. You wanted this meeting. You'll listen to what I have to say. He sank back down, jaw clenched. Here's what I learned after you cut me off. I learned that my worth isn't determined by your approval. I learned that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up, who values you, who chooses you. I learned that I'm actually quite brilliant at my job when I'm not performing emotional labor for Sophie's disasters. I learned what real love looks like. I gestured toward Alex, watching from across the cafe. That's my fiancé. We're getting married next spring. His parents have shown me more genuine affection in 2 years than you managed in 28. Mum's face crumpled. You're getting married? We weren't even told? Why would you be? You're not invited. You declared me dead. Dead people don't send wedding invitations. Victoria, please. Mum reached across the table again. I'm so sorry. If I could take back that moment, that nod, I would. I was weak. I've always been weak. Your father was so angry, and Sophie was crying, and I just went along like I always do, but I've regretted it every single day. But not enough to call. Not enough to apologize before you needed money. Your regret only showed up when your house was being repossessed. She had no answer for that. Dad took a different approach. Fine, you're angry. You have every right to be. But think about what you're doing. You have the means to help us, and you're choosing not to out of spite. What does that make you? Free, I said simply. It makes me free. It makes you cruel, cold, just like you accused us of being. I felt Alex tense from across the room, ready to intervene. I shook my head slightly. No, Dad. Cruelty is what you did to me for 28 years. This? I gestured between us. This is called boundaries. This is called consequences. This is called protecting myself from people who demonstrated repeatedly that they'd sacrifice me for Sophie without a second thought. So that's it? His voice rose. You're just going to let us lose everything? Let your sister go to prison? Let your mother's health deteriorate? Sophie's going to prison because she committed fraud. Mum's health issues are stress-induced from enabling a criminal. And you're losing your house because you bet everything on a daughter who'd already proven she was a terrible investment. None of that is my responsibility. Family helps family. Dad's fist hit the table. The cafe went silent. You're right, I said softly. Family does help family, but you're not my family anymore. You made that clear 5 years ago. I stood, gathering my bag. Wait. Mum grabbed my wrist, desperate. What can we do? What do you need from us to forgive this? I looked at her hand on my wrist, the first time she'd touched me in 5 years, and felt absolutely nothing. There's nothing you can do, Mum, because I don't need your apology. I don't need your recognition or validation or love anymore. I found all of that elsewhere, with people who actually value me. You and Dad and Sophie? You're just people I used to know who made terrible choices. I gently removed her hand from my wrist. But we're your parents, she whispered. No, you're the people who gave birth to me. There's a difference. I walked to Alex's table. He stood immediately, wrapping his arm around my waist. Ready? He murmured. So ready. We walked toward the exit. Behind us, I heard Dad's voice. You'll regret this, Victoria. When we lose everything, it'll be on your conscience. I paused at the door, turned back one final time. They looked so small suddenly, shrunken by their own choices, diminished by the consequences they'd spent years avoiding. No, I said clearly. It'll be on yours. And I walked out into the Manchester rain, feeling lighter than I had in years. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Within 24 hours of our meeting, Dad had posted a rambling Facebook rant about ungrateful children and family betrayal. He didn't name me directly, but everyone knew. The comments section was a battlefield. Some distant relatives rallied around him. Blood is blood. She should help. But others, people I'd forgotten existed, pushed back. Maybe ask why your daughter went no contact in the first place. Then someone dropped the bomb. A screenshot of my forged signature on Sophie's investor documents, posted by an anonymous account with the caption, This is what the Harvey family calls helping each other. The narrative shifted overnight. Sophie's trial date arrived in August. I didn't attend, but Rachel did, curious to see the conclusion of the family that had tormented her best friend. She reported back over FaceTime that evening, her face grim. "Vic, it was brutal." The prosecutor laid out everything: 12 different investors, all elderly people Sophie targeted through networking events. She convinced them she was investing in sustainable fashion, when really the money went straight to designer bags and Marbella weekends. What did she get? 4 years. Fraud, false accounting, money laundering. The judge called it calculated deception targeting vulnerable victims. Your parents were in the gallery, your mom was crying, your dad just looked broken. I waited for the guilt to hit. It didn't. She earned it, I said simply. There's more, Rachel continued. The judge also ordered restitution. Sophie has to pay back every penny she stole. Obviously she can't. So they're seizing all family assets. Your parents' house sold at auction last week. They're moving into a council flat in Zone 6. The family townhouse, the symbol of Harvey prestige, the stage for my execution, reduced to a line item in a bankruptcy proceeding. Karma, I murmured. The purest kind, Rachel agreed. Life continued. Alex and I finalized our wedding plans, a small ceremony at a historic chapel in the Peak District, reception at a gastropub we loved, 40 guests, all chosen family. His parents offered to pay for everything, but we split it down the middle. Equal partners in everything. My career flourished. Margaret promoted me to executive director, managing 3 departments. I spoke at industry conferences, mentored junior marketers, built the professional reputation I'd always dreamed of. 6 months after Sophie's sentencing, I received a letter, actual physical mail, forwarded from my old London address. The handwriting was Mum's, shaky and uncertain. Dear Victoria, I don't expect you to read this, but I needed to write it anyway. Your sister is in Bronzefield prison. She writes to us every week. Still convinced she did nothing wrong, still certain she's the victim in all of this. I finally see what you meant about enabling her. We created a monster by never letting her face consequences. Your father had a heart attack in September. He survived, but he's not the same man. The doctors say stress, but I think it's shame. He asks about you sometimes, in his confused moments. Wants to know when you're coming for Sunday dinner. I don't have the heart to remind him. We're in a 2-bedroom council flat now. It's clean, it's safe, it's nothing like the life we had, but it's what we deserve. I'm not writing to ask for anything. You've made your boundaries clear, and I respect them. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what we did to you. Not just that day, but every day before it. The 1,000 small cruelties of being treated as less important, less valuable, less loved. You deserved better. You deserved parents who saw you, really saw you, and celebrated you for who you were. I'm so sorry we weren't those parents. I heard through someone that you're getting married. I hope he's wonderful. I hope he knows how lucky he is. I hope you're building the family you always deserved. I'm proud of you, Victoria. I know I have no right to say that, but it's true. You became extraordinary despite us, not because of us. I won't contact you again. This is goodbye. Love always, even though I lost the right to say so. Mum. I read it 3 times, sitting at my kitchen table while Alex cooked dinner in the background, waiting for something: anger, sadness, vindication. Instead, I felt a quiet sense of closure. The apology I'd needed 5 years ago, arriving exactly when I no longer required it. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer, not throwing it away, but not giving it prime real estate in my emotional landscape either, just acknowledging it existed. You okay? Alex asked, sensing my mood shift. Yeah, I said, surprised to find it true. I really am. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and wedding preparations. Rachel helped me choose a dress: simple, elegant, emerald green silk that made me feel like the woman I'd become, not the girl I'd been. Alex's mum cried when she saw me in it. You're going to be the most beautiful bride. Thank you, I whispered, letting her fuss with my veil. For everything, for accepting me. She cupped my face in her hands. Sweetheart, you're not joining our family. You are our family. From the moment Alex brought you home, you were one of us. That's what family was supposed to sound like. The wedding day was perfect. Unseasonably warm, sunshine flooding through the chapel's stained glass windows. Rachel walked me down the aisle. We'd discussed Alex's dad, but this felt right. My chosen sister giving me away to the man who'd shown me what real love looked like. Alex's vows destroyed me. Victoria, You taught me that strength isn't about never being broken, it's about rebuilding yourself into something more beautiful than before. You're the bravest person I know, and I promise to spend every day proving that you're worthy of the love you were always denied. Mine were simpler. Alex, you saw me when I was invisible. You valued me when I was told I was worthless. You chose me, every single day, without conditions or comparisons. I promise to choose you back, forever. The reception was chaos and joy dancing, terrible karaoke, speeches that made everyone cry and laugh in equal measure. Alex's best man told embarrassing stories. Rachel roasted us both lovingly. His parents toasted the daughter we always wanted. No one mentioned the empty seats where my family might have been. They simply didn't exist in this new life. Late in the evening, I stepped outside for air. Rachel found me there, champagne in hand. "You good, Mrs. Turner?" "Mrs. Turner?" I repeated, testing the name. "Yeah, I'm really good. No regrets about," she gestured vaguely, meaning the Harveys. "Not even one. They taught me what I didn't want. Alex showed me what I deserved. I'm grateful for both lessons." We clinked glasses, watching our chosen family celebrate through the windows. 6 months after the wedding, I did something I'd been planning for a while. I recorded a video for my social media, something I rarely used but had kept active for professional networking. I didn't show my face, just sat at my home office desk, voice clear and steady. "I want to talk about family," I began. "Specifically, about toxic family dynamics and the myth of unconditional loyalty. 5 years ago, my family declared me already dead because I wouldn't fund my sister's business with my inheritance. My father said those exact words. My mother nodded in agreement. I was 28 years old, and I'd spent my entire life being the scapegoat to my sister's golden child. So I said okay, and disappeared. Blocked all contact, moved cities, started over. They recently tried to reconnect, not because they missed me, but because my sister's business turned out to be a fraud scheme. She's now in prison, and they lost everything. They wanted me to save them with the money I'd refused to hand over years ago. I said no. People say I'm cruel. That blood is thicker than water. That family deserves forgiveness. But here's what I learned. The full quote is, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into." I'm not sharing this for sympathy or validation. I'm sharing it because someone out there needs to hear this. You don't owe your abusers forgiveness. You don't owe toxic family members your mental health, your financial security, or your future. Being related to someone doesn't give them unlimited rights to hurt you. I walked away from my entire family, and my life became immeasurably better. I found real love, real friends, real success. I built everything they said I couldn't, and I did it by choosing myself. If you're the scapegoat, the afterthought, the one who's always giving and never receiving, this is your permission slip to walk away, to protect yourself, to build the life you deserve. They'll call you selfish. They'll call you cruel. They'll tell you that you'll regret it. You won't. I promise you won't. To the family I've built, Alex, Rachel, Margaret, everyone who saw me when I was invisible, thank you. You showed me what real family looks like. And to the family I left behind, I hope you've learned something. But either way, it's no longer my problem. I'm finally free. I posted it without overthinking, then closed my laptop. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of comments from people sharing their own stories of family estrangement, of choosing themselves, of finding freedom in walking away. My inbox flooded with messages. "Thank you for saying this. I needed to hear this today. Your story gave me courage." A few negative comments appeared, "Blood is blood, and you'll regret this someday," but they were drowned out by the chorus of survivors recognizing themselves in my story. One message stood out, from an unknown sender. "I was there that day. At your family summit. I'm Petra, your cousin. I've thought about that day every week for 5 years, how we all sat there and let them do that to you. I'm so ashamed. But I want you to know watching you walk away changed my life. I started therapy. I set boundaries with my own parents. I'm building something real now, like you did. Thank you for showing us it was possible. You don't have to respond to this. I just needed you to know." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I responded, "Thank you for telling me. I hope you're proud of the life you're building. That's all any of us can do." A year later, Alex and I welcomed our daughter, Lily Eleanor Turner, named after Alex's grandmother and mine, the only Harvey family member who'd ever really seen me. Holding her in the hospital, I made a promise. You will never wonder if you're loved. You will never be compared to a sibling and found wanting. You will never be told that someone else's life matters more than yours. I will see you, celebrate you, value you, always. Alex kissed my forehead. She's the luckiest kid in the world. We're the lucky ones, I corrected. We get to break every cycle. We get to show her what real family looks like. Lily's first birthday party was chaos. Alex's huge extended family, Rachel with her new girlfriend, our couple friends, work colleagues who'd become real friends. 40 people crammed into our garden, celebrating this little human who'd never know her maternal grandparents existed. Do you think you'll ever tell her? Rachel asked quietly, watching Lily smash cake into her face while everyone cheered. Maybe when she's older. If she asks, but not as a tragedy, as a choice. I'll tell her that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who hurt you. That family is built, not born. That she comes from a long line of women who learn to value themselves. Your mum would be proud. The new you, I mean, not your mother, screw her. I mean, Lily's mum. I laughed. Thanks for the clarification. That night, after Lily was asleep and Alex was dozing on the couch, I pulled out my phone and recorded one final video. Not for social media this time, just for me. For Lily to find someday if she needed it. Hi, sweetheart. If you're watching this, you're probably old enough to have questions about why you've never met my family. So here's the story. I told her everything. The golden child dynamic, the family summit, the disownment, the escape, the rebuilding. I told her about Sophie's crimes, the desperate reunion attempt, the wedding they weren't invited to. But mostly, I told her about what came after. The best revenge isn't revenge at all, I said to the camera, to my future daughter. It's building a life so full of genuine love and joy that your absence becomes their biggest regret. It's protecting yourself and the people you love from toxicity disguised as obligation. Your dad taught me what love looks like. Rachel taught me what friendship means. Your grandparents, Alex's parents, who you call Nana and Granddad, they taught me that family isn't about DNA. I don't hate the people I left behind. I don't think about them much at all anymore, honestly. They're just characters in a story that ended so I could write a better one. You, Lily, are the best chapter. You and your dad and this beautiful, messy, chosen family we've built. You'll never be second choice. You'll never be invisible. You'll never be told that someone else matters more. And if someday, you need to walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family, I hope you remember that your mum did it, and survived, and thrived. I hope you never need this message, but if you do, I hope it gives you courage. I love you more than I knew was possible. You saved me in ways you'll never understand. Love always. Mum. I saved the video in a locked folder, dated it, and put my phone away. Alex stirred on the couch. Come here, he mumbled sleepily. I curled up next to him, listening to Lily's white noise machine humming from the nursery, feeling the weight of his arm around me, breathing in the peace of a life I'd built from ashes. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. For a moment, I considered checking it. Then I deleted the notification without looking. Because some doors, once closed, should stay that way. And I was finally, completely, beautifully, free. So, that's my story. 5 years of silence, 5 years of healing, 5 years of proving that you can build a life more beautiful than anything you left behind. My father said I was already dead to them. He meant it as a curse. It became my liberation. I'm not sharing this to gloat or for sympathy. I'm sharing it because somewhere out there, someone is sitting in a similar situation, being told they're not enough, being compared to a golden child, being guilt-tripped into sacrificing themselves for people who'd never do the same. If that's you, this is your sign. You deserve better. You deserve people who choose you, who celebrate you, who value you without conditions. And sometimes, to find those people, you have to walk away from the ones who never will. It won't be easy. There will be grief, guilt, moments where you question everything, but I promise you on the other side of that pain is a freedom you can't even imagine yet. The Harveys lost everything. Their house, their reputation, their golden child to prison, their future to bankruptcy. They thought I'd come crawling back. They were wrong. I gained everything. A partner who values me, a daughter who'll never doubt her worth, a career I built on my own merit, and a peace I never knew existed. They said I'd regret it. The only thing I regret is not leaving sooner. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you from? Have you ever been the scapegoat in your family? Are you struggling with whether to set boundaries or walk away? Please hit that subscribe button. Every subscription tells me these stories matter. that sharing the difficult truths helps people feel less alone. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we need permission from a stranger on the internet to choose ourselves. This is that permission. And if you're currently in a toxic family situation, please know, you are not the problem. You are not too sensitive. You are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are brave for even considering that you deserve better. Because you do. I promise you do. Drop A in the comments if you're part of the chosen family club. Let's create a community of people who understand that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up, who values you, who chooses you every single day. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing yourself, or for considering it. You are worthy of love. You are valuable. You are enough. Now go build your beautiful, free life. Until next time, this is Victoria, reminding you that the best revenge is living well, and the best family is the one you choose. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.